Hello my friends, welcome back to Keto and the Chaos. My name is Tammy, and on this channel I like to share all my tips and tricks on how I lost 200 pounds without surgery and how you can be successful on your own weight loss journey. So if that's what you're looking for, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for more videos like this one to help you to get started. Hello my friends, welcome back. I'm so glad to see everyone. We are here. This is Transformations with Tammy, episode 2 with Lynnventure, and I'm so excited that we're back here. It's been a few weeks, and I'm just here to check in with the keto coaching and see how Lynn has dealt with what we're doing, how things have gone for her, and all of that. And I think she's excited about it, right?
Totally excited.
You feel a lot better this time than last time.
I don't feel I was really scared. I was very nervous last time, and I feel like having a few weeks behind me makes a big difference. Yeah.
I brought up some questions that I wrote down. These are the same kind of things that I would ask you if you were doing coaching with me when we do check-ins. And so I thought it might be good for you to see like how I would normally do that, and how, you know, like what Lynn's answers might be. They might be similar to questions you might have as you're going into your keto journey. So very first question, how do you feel like it went overall?
I think it went okay. Not fantastic. Like, I felt like my food was really good, but I ended up with a lot of questions. I felt like as I was going through it, there were more questions than I already knew the answers to.
So you thought you had a handle on it because you knew about Atkins and everything, but over time, there were still a lot of things that you didn't quite understand?
Yes, and also because when I lost that 60 pounds, I did something very similar.
Okay.
But I seemed to end up with a lot of questions that I wasn't anticipating that I would have.
Okay, that's great. Well, and that's exactly what I'm here for, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it.
That's literally it. So that's literally the point of coaching. So what were your biggest challenges over the last couple of weeks? Like, what were the hardest things to do? Maybe not the questions, but like when you faced things that you were like, oh, I don't love this.
So for me, definitely the hardest thing is the emotions. So when you take the food away, since that is a big part of how what I rely on to make it through the day, when you take the food away, all of a sudden I have emotions that I'm not expecting. So always, whenever I try to do something different with my food, the emotions is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
And so I did a bunch of the things that worked for me. I did some writing, I did some talking. You know, I just tried to remove myself from the situation. That part was not surprising. I was anticipating that, but it is still, even today, the most difficult thing.
I think that's the most difficult thing for everyone. It's still the most difficult thing for me, even at this point. I often struggle. And you've seen on my channel, I'm very honest about it. I'll come out and say, wow, this is really terrible. I hate this. I did send you a video of tips like for handling stress and emotions. The ones that you mentioned were great. So writing things down. I remember you on one of your videos, I think you removed yourself from the situation. You talked about going outside and just being somewhere else, doing something else to try and move past that feeling.
Well, the other thing I did, which really helps, and I can't remember when during the process I did this, but I wrote down every time I had a food thought, because it kind of helped me to see, okay, yeah, I'm really being overwhelmed by this. And then it also led me to see, like, then hours had gone by, like 5 hours had gone by and I didn't have a food thought. So I was like, okay, that puts it a little bit more into perspective for me. It didn't feel like every single second of every single day I was having food thoughts, because I was writing it down.
Right, and then you can see what you can connect it to. So that's really brilliant. I mean, you do the same kind of thing when you're trying to figure out if you're having a food allergy. I'm having this thought, what spurred this, and what can I do to like help avoid that in the future or deal with that thing? And really, it's about dealing with it. Honestly, we use food a lot to push down our feelings and not address the serious situation that we don't want to deal with. And so, you know, you'll have years and years and years of that, and it becomes habit. Well, the goal of this kind of weight loss situation is to make new habits, new go-tos, your new life. And so we don't call it a diet, we call it a way of eating, which is still so cliche in my opinion. I hate calling it a way of eating. It's just really a new real life, a new habit, a new way to do things. And it isn't easy. It is harder than eating food. I would much rather sit and eat food, and there are still times when I do. The difference is that I choose to eat different foods that aren't going to completely sabotage me and send me down a nasty spiral of misery. So I think you're on the right track with that. I think that's pretty much everybody's hardest. In fact, every single person I have coached, it has turned into more of a therapy session than anything else, because that's really the hang up. That is really the problem that causes people to binge eat and eat carbs and do our comfort things. It's all that emotions and finding a new way to handle it. So I think that's great. Okay, what do you think were your biggest successes? What are you proud of?
I would say probably the number one thing I'm proud of is I went out of town for 5 days and my food was excellent. My food was still really, really good. My water was a little weak, and if you know from my channel, water is a huge big deal to me. But my water was kind of weak, but I was physically active. So I felt really happy that my food was good. So before literally we went from the airport to the store and I bought food.
Nice.
So that I'd have the food that I needed. And I would kind of tell you about one of the challenges with that. Sure. One of the challenges for me with the traveling was something I wasn't completely expecting, but I got into some fear of when I was going to eat again. So I noticed I was overeating like at a meal because I wasn't really sure, like I didn't know what the schedule was going to be. I didn't know when I'd be able to cook again or when we'd be able to eat again or anything. And so the up in the air part of it was a little bit difficult for me, just not knowing. And so I noticed I overate a number of times, even though the food that I was eating, the choices I was making was good. But I did notice I was overeating because of fear. But fear is another emotion. And so one of the things that is really important is being able to do emotion management through this process.
Yeah, and going on vacation is just always tricky. Like it's hard to have good, nutritious whole foods. You have to decide what types of packaged foods are good and that what you're willing to bring into your diet for those times and stuff like that. Plus there's always water retention, there's always stresses, there's always unpredictability. And so I think that's amazing that you went on a vacation so quickly into the process and made it through. When you told me that you were going on a vacation, I was really nervous for you, and I thought, well, we're just going to start over next week and I'm just going to let her do whatever. I tried not to message her too much and bug her too much. I didn't want her to feel like there was any pressure from me, because I know that's tough.
Yeah.
Going on vacation is never easy, and it's hard to stay keto, and I'm proud of you. I mean, that's really amazing.
Thanks.
I'm really proud.
Yeah,
way to go.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think also just being willing to like jump into a new thing. I think you really took it by the reins and decided that you were going to really put all of your effort into it. And I think that's how we do it. That's how I did it. You know, I was like, I'm doing this. If I'm going to really do it, I'm going to take everything to heart and I'm going to learn everything I can and I'm going to do it as best as I can. And that's just kind of how I tried. I just kind of get obsessed. That's me as a personality. The fun part, what questions came up in the time that you've had, 3 weeks, I think it's been, since we last talked? What are some of the questions we didn't address in the first video that came up and you went, wait, what? And had to message me again?
So I was really surprised about the carb count in some of the vegetables. So I didn't bring my paper with me, but I sat down and wrote down every vegetable that I normally eat. And then I did the carb count, and then I subtracted the fiber, and then I had the net carb. But I was really surprised, like onions are really high.
They are.
So I was eating and I'm still eating it, but in the process I'm thinking, I think I'm eating too many vegetables. And vegetables, if you watch my channel, vegetables are a big deal to me.
Vegetables are great on keto.
Vegetables, but yeah.
You just have to be careful about which ones and how much.
Yeah, although I was measuring it, so I didn't go over my vegetables. I just was surprised at the values of some vegetables were so much higher than others. That was one thing. And so I have been measuring them and I've been counting them. And so in one of the conversations we had, I felt a little bit like the whole counting every single vegetable and everything was a bit much. And so we talked about just don't even bother counting the vegetables. And I didn't know if that was like a custom thing for me because you could tell I was frustrated.
I mean, it's a lot of the keto gurus out there talk about that. In fact, if you look at Dr. Berg, who I don't necessarily support, but he is a big proponent of 7 cups of veggies a day. That's just ridiculous. It's to get the potassium in. Me, I just prefer to take some no salt and call it good.
I like to have vegetables in my food plan.
Yeah.
But I would much prefer not to have to count
them. Well, I would say don't count your green veggies then, but do count carrots, onions, squash, anything that could have a large amount of carbs in a small piece. You should probably count. But when it comes to green veggies, you can probably just kind of like, you know, I didn't always track and weigh all my green veggies.
So broccoli, zucchini,
any kind of lettuces, spinach.
Well, so, I guess the takeaway for me is if I don't have to count my lettuce, that's what I want to.
I wouldn't worry about it. So like if you're having a big salad, just don't stress.
Okay.
Eat to satiety on that. And
then what about tomatoes?
Tomatoes are kind of in the middle. I usually try to stick to like 60 grams or less, and I don't really like be paranoid about it. But
I'm just saying, don't have to count them.
Yeah, I probably would because you really want to include those.
Yeah.
I did want to mention though, I know you mentioned that the fiber and everything cleans you out. That's actually something that we don't have to worry about on keto. And it's something that I found out from Dr. Finney. He's done some studies on what actually fiber does in your body. And what it does is it ferments in your gut, in your intestine, and it causes bacteria that help everything move through. But the byproduct of that is almost exactly the same thing as the byproduct of ketosis. So if you're in a nice deep state of ketosis and you're taking your electrolytes, which is the next question I know, if you're taking your electrolytes to the amount that you need, you should be moving through fine and everything should be going, and without fiber, with or without. Like I said, I eat a cup of veggies a day, and I don't worry about fiber. It's not gonna hurt you, but it's not something you have to like try to get in. Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I can send you the article, or I haven't done a video about that.
I'm a big believer in vegetables.
Because it's that's good.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go into the next question, which is the electrolytes.
Yes, that's always the hardest one. I know we talked about this.
Yeah, so I don't understand. I know I asked this in the first video, but I still don't understand what it would have been that I was eating before that would have given me so much sodium.
You didn't have as much sodium.
Oh, okay,
before.
That's all right. So maybe I needed a supplement then too.
Well, you need more on keto.
Okay, so I don't feel like I have any ill effects. Like I don't feel bad or weird or anything. I seem to be sleepy at the times I'm supposed to be sleepy, and I'm awake at the times I'm supposed to be awake, and
that's good.
I don't feel anything. But you had suggested that I start drinking. One of the suggestions was chicken bouillon or bouillon. So I had bouillon twice, but I'm gonna tell you a couple things. One, it's like greasy in my mouth, like it coats my mouth. That was one thing. And then the other thing is it's 100 calories. And so like if I'm at just say 13-ish 100 calories a day, to use 100 of them on the bouillon.
So your bouillon is pretty high in fat then. It's gotta be.
Oh, it's greasy in my mouth.
Which brand are you using?
KNORR.
Isn't that the one we have? Yeah, that's the one we have, but I don't use that as a sodium supplement. It's just something that makes it more palatable, but if it's gross, you're better off doing something different for your sodium. Some suggestions on how to get your sodium in. Number one, I always suggest Solé water, and of course I'm gonna link that in the cards because it's very important to make it and just take it that way because it's a supplement and it's just easy. It's the fastest way. It tastes crappy, but it's down and it's done.
So what I'd love is for you to include something I can buy. So do you have a link,
basically you can buy pink Himalayan salt rocks, and you can either use them to make Solé water, or you can weigh out the amount you need for the day, and through the day, swallow them like pills with water. Okay. So you're already drinking water. Every time you drink water, you could be like, okay, I have to take in, a teaspoon of salt rocks with my water and just start chugging them down.
Okay.
So that is a good way to get them in. A lot of people find that that's a good way to do it. It's cheaper than salt pills. Okay. Way cheaper than salt pills.
Would you be willing to link that so that people can buy that?
You bet. Down in the links below, we'll put our Amazon link. It'll be my Amazon link.
It'll be your Amazon link.
I have an Amazon link. She helped me make the Amazon links, guys. I'm so proud. But now I have to get somebody to actually click one. Yeah.
Well, I'll click it.
All right.
When this video comes out, I'll click it and I'll buy it off of the...
salt.
Yeah, buy some salt.
So you can take salt pills. You can make salt pills. So you can take like the finely ground salt and put them in little gel caps if it's hard for you to get the sodium in. I know that is a real big challenge. And people are way against it a lot. You are not the first person to come up against it and go, I don't know if I like this idea. But I will tell you that if you don't do it, even if you feel amazing, you're probably retaining water. So at this point, you're 3 weeks in, you should have hit the wall at 2 weeks. That would have been like when you all of a sudden just felt really, really not great. nausea, just tiredness, feeling headaches, those kind of things will happen. But if you don't immediately fix the sodium, your body will just start retaining water like crazy, so that any sodium you consume, your body will hold it.
Okay, so I don't understand this. Logically, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
I know. It's very hard to explain.
I know. Why would you take in sodium, which retains water, in order to not retain water? Like, I don't get that.
Well, because on keto, now you're asking me things I should go into the scientific. I have a whole video on this, I'm sure, somewhere.
Okay, if you have to just say trust me on this, that's fine.
Trust me.
I don't get that. Like, logically, it doesn't make sense to me.
It's to do with the kidneys and insulin. So when your body has a lot of insulin going through it all the time, you don't need as much sodium. And I don't exactly know why. When you don't have the insulin going through you all the time, your body excretes the sodium more. It lets it go, and which is why you don't retain water. It's anti-inflammatory, and you just whoosh it right through, and it shouldn't stay in you. So you consume it, and then the extra goes on out. And you consume it and the extra goes on out. But the problem is that too much goes out and your body goes, wait, I need sodium for my muscles, I need sodium for my heart, I need sodium for everything, and potassium as well. And your body will dump potassium in order to retain sodium, which is bad because you need that for your heart, especially. So potassium is vital. And so your body doesn't think it's as vital, and it will drop the potassium, and that's when you start getting muscle cramps and things like that. You'll go, oh, yeah, this isn't good. Something's not right here. We take the sodium to prevent that, to keep your body happy, because your body's like, oh, she's intaking. Okay, we don't need to hold this water. But when you don't intake and your body still needs it, your body starts to panic, and your body will hold the sodium in. And so it'll hold on to every bit. So then as you take in more, you're just going to swell up like a balloon at first, to the point where you feel like you're going to burst and your toes are going to come apart. And then when your body learns to trust you again, it just wishes it off. If you take sodium from the day one, like I recommend, 5,000 milligrams minimum, that won't happen.
Okay, I thought when we were going back and forth, you said I could do, was it 2,000 to 3,500?
Yeah, well, because you were working your way up, and I didn't want, because you were already retaining water when we were talking. I thought, uh-oh, if she goes right into 5,000, she's probably going to get really scared.
Okay.
People get a little nervous when they start to retain water. They're like, wait, you told me this was going to fix it. It will, but you have to wait like at least a week.
Oh, okay.
And then your body goes, okay, she's going to keep eating this, so I'm good to let it go.
Okay.
It has to trust you. And it is just a weird random thing that happens in ketosis. It's literally only a ketosis thing. It's like you're eating so anti-inflammatory, your body just doesn't hang on to things. But it will start hanging on again if it gets too low and it gets panicky.
Okay.
So it's so hard to explain, but that's why I have a million videos on the subject. And that's also what I explain a lot in coaching. We can go over it again and again as you need. And I can send you links to the articles that explain the sciencey part, because I'm not that great at explaining the sciencey part. That's Dr. Finney's job, not my job. I'm not as good at it, but I will tell you, I've been doing it forever, and I take in so much more sodium than 5,000 on the daily.
Okay.
I take a lot, and I don't feel good. I've tried cutting it back, and I just feel awful. So I just go by how I feel. There was one other you were going to ask me about questions that you mentioned upstairs, but I didn't write it down.
Oh, okay. So, and let's see. My thing to eat on the go is a Kind bar.
Okay.
And it has 5 grams of sugar, which is very good for me, and I can't remember what else. Well, I did a video with a woman who did a bunch of snacks.
Okay.
Her name was Wendy, and in the video she said that if you're going to have a bar, it should always have the carbs and the protein close together. And you saw one of the videos where I was talking about this, and you said you should try Quest bars. So I went and bought Quest bars, and I was eating them. And then all of a sudden, I looked at the back, and they're like 21 carbs in a bar.
21 total carbs.
Yeah, so if I'm supposed to only be having 20 carbs in a day, and I have a Quest bar, then basically no veggies for me.
If you're doing total carbs, yes, but we're doing net carbs, just like on the veggies. So if you look at the ingredients, yeah, well, that's the thing. And right on the front, it'll usually say like 3 net carbs.
Yeah, I think it did say that.
So you don't have to do the math.
No, I think it did say that.
But if you look on the back, it'll say, so 21 total carbs, and then it'll say however much fiber, and it'll be like, 18 or something fiber. And fiber doesn't digest and doesn't affect your blood sugar. It just goes in your body and back out. out. Like with vegetables, it's just a mover and moving things through kind of mechanism. And so they put the fiber in it to make it chewy. And so you don't have to count that as towards your carbs because it doesn't actually digest or cause a blood sugar spike. The other thing that's in it is a sugar alcohol. So sugar alcohols do not affect the blood sugar. Some people claim they can, and if you find some of them bother you, you will have to avoid some of them. But most of the time, they don't bother you and they won't spike your blood sugar at all. And so you don't count those either.
Okay, that was a big question I had. I for some reason, like we've probably talked about this net carb thing. I don't know.
It's hard. It is hard.
Easily
concept.
5 times because anytime I think that's too many carbs, and then she's remember net carbs, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, net carbs. I'm like, I
subtract the fiber.
I can't seem to. That is not easily drilling into my head.
Well, when I began this journey, I didn't have any bars, and I tried to only have stevia as a sweetener. I tried to cut out as many things as possible because number one, I wanted to kill my sweet tooth. And number two, I wanted to make sure that I was eating lots of real food. So for 8 months, I didn't eat any bars or any kind of anything like that. No Mio water enhancer, which you know I'm a big proponent of. I basically just ate food for 8 months.
Is that something you could link below?
It is, and I have.
Say it again.
Yes. So the Mio water enhancer is what I use for my yogurt, but at the beginning, I didn't do that. I did stevia and vanilla. I can't do that anymore. It's not sweet enough now. I'm really used to the Mio. It's like, people say it's a game changer. It really is. It makes it taste so good. But some people can't have sucralose, and in Mio, that's the sweetener, is sucralose.
So where can we get that?
You can get it on Amazon, right in the link below. See? I'm so not good at that yet. I'm working on it. She's training me too on how to make money. Yeah. All right.
So I'm good at money.
Yeah, she's very good at money, and I am not good at money. Okay, I don't recommend having bars. Is basically try to stay. In fact, when I first did it, I did net carbs only on veggies and total carbs on everything else to keep myself from eating the bars. So it does make sense to not have them because they can be a crutch, and some people they cause to retain water. They can be inflammatory with some of the ingredients that are in them. You don't know for sure what the ingredients in them are bothering you or not. So at the beginning, you don't have to have those, but when you're on a trip, like, and I know you love your kind bars, and so I was trying to give you a little bit healthier alternative, or at least lower carb alternative. I disagree on the protein and carbs being the same. When I read a label, my goal is for the carbs to be as low as possible, for the protein to be as high as possible, and the fats to be as low as possible. So that's why I like Quest bars, because they pretty much fit those macros. They don't taste the best in the whole planet. I have had better bars, but those ones I think are probably the easiest to find and the best if you're in a pinch.
Yeah, so when I lost the 60 pounds in 2018, I used my Fitness Pal, and I actually really liked it, and I got so that I had the meals set up and I had everything, so I had to just click, and I think in the end I logged for 406 days in a row.
Wow.
So I was very consistent with logging my food, and so that was something that was very common to me and I'm very comfortable with and everything.
And motivating. You don't want to let that streak go.
Oh, the streak go. Yeah, and you know how it went? Is I went on a cruise with the girls. And so when we take our phones and we put them in the safe for the week, and with no service or anything, and if you just let a couple days go, it resets. It resets. And so I lost the streak with the cruise, but it was still totally worth it. Anyway, so when we first started talking, you were saying that I should use this other tracking device, which I have started using, and I had made a goal to track 7 days in a row, and I think I missed one day because I was in travel, and it's
hard.
Yeah, it just gets to be kind of a bit much. But anyway, I do actually like that a lot. I like that product a lot.
Okay, so the reason that I recommend Chronometer over my Fitness Pal is the number one reason is because it has the most USDA entries. And that basically means that every single thing that the USDA lists in that product is listed in that thing. So you can trust that the potassium, the magnesium, the sodium, everything is listed correctly in that product, which is really, really nice because on keto, we need to watch and track our electrolytes, and potassium is number one because you want to get as much as you can from your foods so you don't have to supplement so much. So when you're eating a lot of veggies, you're going to get a lot of potassium from your food, and you probably don't need to use a supplement like I do. So that's just one thing that you're going to want to be able to track. Plus, potassium is one of those things that's a little iffy if you get too much. So you want to make sure you don't
get in the hospital if you have too much potassium.
Right, and it is a killer amount. Usually not as much as we would like intake, but it still is a concern. So you want to make sure that you stick between 2,000 and 5,000 milligrams of potassium and don't really go over that, but that you reach that. I used to say 1,000, but I find I retain water still if I don't hit 2. So that's my most current recommendation. Most keto gurus recommend 4,700. So I don't know. Dr. Finney, he recommends about 1,000 to 3,500, I believe. I'd have to go back to his article to get the exact numbers. So my numbers are kind of like in line with Finney, but also based on personal experience. But you have to decide like what is best for you, but those are the general numbers, I guess. So that's one of the main reasons. Second reason, the second reason is because MyFitnessPal has a lot of user-friendly things. There's a lot of social. There's the streak thing.
I actually like
that is a good thing.
I'm call it chronometer. What do you call it?
Chronometer. It's just how you
chronometer. Okay.
Potato.
Yeah. All right. I like it because I actually think it's easier to use than MyFitnessPal, and I like the displays better. Like I was pretty hesitant to switch over because I was using MyFitnessPal,
right?
And I was pretty hesitant to switch over because I'm like, I don't want to learn a new thing and stuff like that. But the display is nice, the readout is nice, the information is easy to get,
is easy to find your numbers,
to track. It's, I mean, I actually
and you can
like
trust that the numbers are accurate. Whereas with MyFitnessPal, a lot of those entries are user entries, and they're not. Those people are lazy. They're not going to put the potassium in there.
Yeah. Well, that's not their purpose.
Right. They're just trying to look at the calories.
Yeah.
So, that's the main reason. There's another one called Carb Manager that's really, really popular. I actually like the display on that so much better. The pie chart and everything is easier to see. But again, lots of user entered entries, and I just don't trust it as much. Chronometer just seems to be the most accurate out there. And it's not that you have to be super accurate on your macros. You do to a degree, but it's actually the potassium that's the biggest concern, because when you're not feeling great and you're taking enough sodium, or you're still retaining water and you're taking what you think is the right amounts, you can't really check yourself or see if it's the potassium unless you know exactly how much you have and you raise it up and see what happens. And that's what I did. I was still struggling with retaining water so bad, and it was driving me crazy, and I upped mine to 2,000 milligrams and boom, fixed it. So you can't do that if you don't have accurate info. All right, so now that we've talked about your questions that you've had, what are your action goals as we're going forward into the next 2 weeks? What are you going to do that you haven't already done? What's your hard thing that you're going to do today and every day? I know she does on her channel, a hard thing every day.
Oh, yeah.
Hard thing that you don't want to do.
Yeah, I'd like to beef up my tracking.
Okay.
So I'm doing good at it, but I'd like to be doing it much more real time. So I know it's like a few hours will go by and I will have eaten something and I don't track it right away. So I'd actually like to make a goal that I track before I eat.
Yes,
that would be my number one thing. Okay. So I've kind of been doing it, but not to that level.
So your action goal is to get 14 days of pre-tracking.
Okay, can we do 7? Because that was my original thing, and no, I already missed on the 7, so I'd like to try to do 7.
7 days.
7. Starting with today. Yeah, I'd like to do 7 days, and I want to do it before I eat. That would be, or at least within like an hour or whatever, but not like 2 or 3 hours later, because I don't think that's as tight.
I don't always track before I eat, but I did at the beginning. So you get to the point where you kind of know what your meal needs to have in order to have the right macros, because you've done it so much. And so I don't always track right away, but I did at the beginning pre-track, so because I didn't know how much protein was in 4 ounces of chicken. I didn't know how much was in each thing.
I kind of got that a little bit just because I did it for so long before, but I still think I don't want to let so many hours go by before I write it down.
Yeah, it's accountability, and you don't want to risk forgetting something.
That's right.
Or missing something.
That's the big thing, is I don't want to risk missing something. Okay, that's the thing. So I'd like to do that.
That's great.
Do you want more than one? Because I do have a second one I could do.
Sure.
If I want to do something about the sodium.
Okay.
I don't know what, like I did the bouillon. I wasn't really happy. I wasn't loving that very much. I didn't really, I mean, the flavor was okay, and I would drink it warm and it was actually okay, but I didn't like the greasy feeling in my mouth and
the calories. And there's also carbs in it too.
Yeah, so I'd like to look at something different for my sodium, and I don't know quite what that is. Or give me all the options.
Solé water is what I do for sodium.
But you don't buy that. That's something you have to make, right?
I wish. You know what? If I was going to make a business and make some money, that is what I would do. Bottle Solé water. Because you know how many people have asked me? It's salt water. People have asked me, where do I buy that? So many times you would not believe it. And I'm like, you don't buy it, you make it. This is how you make it. It's super easy. You just put salt in a jar and add water. It's like so cheap.
Yeah, but you want to make money?
Okay, so there's this other product. I'm not going to mention the name of it. I've kind of given them a hard time because they have it's the first product that actually has enough sodium to be called an actual keto supplement. There's lots of supplements on the market. There's so many. But when I went in and looked at the amount you would have to drink and how much it would cost, it was so ridiculous. It was like $45 for like a week. And I'm like, guys, salt is so cheap. I buy like I buy like a 5-pound bag. It lasts me at least 2 months making Solé water. And it's $12 on Amazon, which I can link that. Oh wait, I already did. I'll link you my sodium. That's super cheap. But yeah, that's what I do. And so what I do is I have a little jar that I've made my Solé water in, and I keep it on top of my microwave. It makes the exact amount of Solé water that I personally take a day.
So why do you call it Solé? Why don't you just call it salt water?
It's just what people call it. It's a real thing. It's a chemistry thing. It's actually chemistry.
Salt and water is a chemistry thing.
Yes, it really is. And that's actually, it's a French name, I think. I'm not sure what it means.
Sun.
Well, but it's not spelled like Solé, Soleil. It is spelled S-O-L-E with a little exclamation on top or whatever, or accent on top.
Accent aigu or something,
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know exactly why it's called that, but I do know it's a chemistry term. And the reason why it is what it is that basically water can only absorb so much sodium. And when it's fully absorbed, it has 1434 milligrams of sodium per tablespoon in that water, which is why we use it, because you can track it. You need to be able to track it. A lot of people say use pickle juice, but you don't know how much sodium they put in the pickle juice. There's nothing on the label that tells you. So of course it's gonna make you feel better. It tastes good. Well, you may as well make pickle juice and put your own amount of sodium in it then and drink it that way, because that would taste good like pickle juice, but you would know what was in it. Solé water is brilliant because it's chemistry. We know there's about 1,400 milligrams in every tablespoon, so we can track it. And it's cheap and easy. So I keep my jar, it's about that big, mason jar. What I do is I gently pour off the top. Some people use a plunger to pull it out. Some people just scoop out a tablespoon, however you want to do it. I'm so good. I've been doing it so long. I can deftly pour it without pouring any of the sediment into my little jar, which of course I don't have with me. I've shown it a million times. You can buy that in the links below. It's called a Go Stack container. And I know exactly how much to drink on my container for the amount that I take at a time. So I put it in my purse and I just take it through the day. It's so convenient. What I do every day. And I know if I drank all the Solé water I'm supposed to take, because my Go Stack tells me how much I need to take, because I take how much I take a day, which is a lot more than what I'm recommending to you. And it tastes like salt water. It tastes like drinking the ocean. It's not pleasant. If you drink it on an empty stomach, it will burn. And you will feel like you're gonna vomit. So I always chase it with any kind of drink, diet soda or water or whatever I have got on hand, so that my stomach isn't just sitting there with salt on it, because it will burn. I remember my sister calling me, is it supposed to hurt? And I'm like, drink some water. But it works. It works. So do you feel less scared? I know you seemed really scared on our last video. A lot of people commented that. They were like, oh, she seems like she's got a deer in headlights going on.
I think I got it.
You got it.
For me, like letting go of the carbs was just really hard. I was a big carb person. And
well, we all are.
Even though I had eaten substantially less than I had at some point in my past, doing this is even less. So it's just a little bit of a transition for me.
It is a hard thing to embrace, but I promise that you're going to get to the point where you just don't care. All right. Well, I guess that's that's it. I think we've covered everything. I hope that you guys have enjoyed watching me coach Lynn. She's been really great to be my guinea pig. I've never done this like on video kind of thing before. I think I still have one spot available, but you know what? I'm not sure if I will by the time this video goes out. But you can email me, ketochaos@gmail.com. It's $120 for 4 weeks with me, and I'll do the same thing that I'm doing with Lynn, only we would do it over like video texting and Facebook Messenger and things like that. I want to share this type of coaching interaction feeling with more people, and I can only really take 4 at a time. And so I can only help 4 people at a time, and that's depressing. I want to be able to help a lot more people. So you're my guinea. How do you feel about being the guinea?
I feel great.
Awesome.
It's fun. It's good. I'm happy.
Well, I've enjoyed it. You're one of my favorite people, and thank you guys so much for checking out her channel. I know it makes her a little nervous. She feels like, lots of people, but it's so good to have friends and
But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And your your friends are they're so supportive, and they're so nice.
They are the best. I don't know how I found them, but I love you guys.
Well, I think they found you.
Maybe.
So one of the ways that you can support Tammi, because I know that you love her and you care so much about her, you'll say something like, I came over from Tammy's channel and I thought I'd, support you now and stuff like that. Like, I know you love her so much. One of the ways that you can support her and support her channel is by clicking the links below and buying products from that, because that helps support the channel.
It does.
So I really encourage you to do that.
Helps keep me going, and plus Amazon is only going to let me have my account for so long.
Yeah, I think they allow it for 6 months.
Yeah, and I opened it a lot sooner and I didn't realize it.
Yeah. So that's a great way to support Kim. You love Tammi, just support her doing that.
Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it. I'm so glad you hang out with me today, and we'll talk to you all again soon.
Bye.